Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Thanks for tuning in again. If you've been following along with the channel, with the build on the truck, you know on the last video we installed these ditch light brackets from Z1 Off-Road. So in today's video, we're going to be installing our ditch lights. And again, if you've been following the build, you know on our covert bumper from CBI here, we have a 30-inch light bar from Baja Designs. So I went with more Baja designs for the truck, just to keep it all looking nice, all matching. So what we picked up are these Squadron Pros, and it's a very simple install. This comes with everything you need. You can see you've got the actual lights themselves. These are the driving combo. I'll show you that when we get them outside in the dark and turn them on. You can see comes all wired, your harness on the end there. And then of course in the box I've got it all apart so I can show you guys. You get your sticker. This one actually does come with the wiring harness, so keep that in mind. Not all Baja Design stuff comes with the harness. This one does. You get two little kind of make your own connectors if you're not going to use the harness. We are going to use the harness, but I'm going to cut it up. I have a aux beam control switch panel inside the truck, so I can use most of this. I'm going to chop it off. But if you're not having a harness at all, maybe you pick these up secondhand or yours didn't come with a harness, you can use this to make your own connector to plug into the lights. And basically what you're doing is just making your own thing like right here. So pretty simple. If you want to see how that's done, it's done on the video where we installed the light bar. So you can go check that out if you want. I also picked up these. These are separate. Does not come with it, but it's two just little rock guards. Cover the lights for when you're driving. Some places, or most places, it's actually illegal to drive without these. We do have some cops that are a pain in the butt, so these are like 10 bucks. I figured pick them up. You don't obviously want a rock actually smashing that, and if you got them on there, the cops cannot complain that you have off-road lights on your truck on the street. And then, what else comes in here? You get two brackets for mounting to the ditch light brackets, and then you get two baggies full of hardware. And what you get is a bolt, a nut, two washers to go with that, and then you get two smaller bolts and two smaller washers, and that goes into the side to bolt to the actual light. You'll see that in a sec. For the little bolts, you need a T25 Torx bit, and then for the bolt and nut, 9/16 or 14 mil, they both work. And then of course in the box as well, you get a little bit of instructions on how to do it, how to do everything you need, measurements and such. So, and if you're doing it yourself, you got a little how-to booklet. All right, so first step, you want your bolt. You want to take one big washer, goes on the bolt, just like such. The bolt will go through the bracket like that. Then the next washer underneath, in between the nut and the bracket, and then the nut. And then when you put this on the truck, keep in mind that when you put it in here, the angle of this thing goes towards your windshield. You don't want it sitting that way, that's backwards. You want it this way. And what I'm gonna do is, this bracket has a slot in there, a notch, so you can go back and forth. So I'm gonna put it in all the way over like this. And then, of course, before you have these on, you can't really angle them and get it correct for the angle you want them at, where you want them pointed. So what I'm gonna do for now, like I said, I'm gonna slide this all the way over, and then I'm gonna make the bracket just kind of line up like you see here with the natural angle of the actual ditch light bracket. So I'm gonna tighten it down like that. So nut, washer, or bolt, washer underneath, put the other washer and the nut, crank it down. And then because you have a washer on top and bottom, it'll be tight because you have a lock nut as well. But with the washers there, when you're out and the light's on here, it won't be easy to turn. But when you want to adjust it, because the washers are there, you're going to still be able to do that slightly if you want it pointed a little further out or a little more in towards the vehicle. But for me, for now, just for install purposes, like I said, we're going to line it up just like that, crank her down, and then we can move on to the lights. All right, so now to move on to the actual lights themselves. And now I'm not sure if this is actually a thing Baja Designs does, but I did notice that if you look at the wires, this one kind of has a natural curve this way, and the other one has a natural curve that way. So when you put them on the truck, because this one is pointing to the left, when you get it on the bracket, of course the wire is going to be coming down to the left, and then my switch panel box is actually on the passenger side, so it's going to be going that way. And then the other one, if you use this one, again, it goes to the right. So you can angle them, put them on the right way, that the wire's kind of going to the middle of your hood. It'll just make it a little easier to strap the wires down. It'll give you a cleaner look after the install's complete. All right, so now moving on to actually mounting the lights with these little bolts. You can see they do come with a little bit of blue Loctite already, so you don't have to worry about that. Snug them down, you don't have to worry about this thing walking off and your light going flying or bouncing away when you're off-road. But to actually put these on now, you can see you come with the little washer and the bolt, and then on the side of your light here, you can see you got the hole there where the bolt threads into. Only thing is, that makes this a little bit of a pain, is that washer actually goes in between this light and the bracket. So I'm going to show you a little trick of how I do this. So what I do is this, and you can see, pop the bolt through just enough to hold the washer on there. And now when you take the light, and I can't do this with one hand filming and one hand installing, but you drop the light down and these just naturally kind of pop up and go into place with the holes. Get one started a little bit, then you can mess around with the other side. Once they're both started, you crank it down and that's all there is to it. So you can see I've got the inside one started, it holds it in place, and then that gives you a free hand again, and then you can just hold on to this bolt, and once you pop it into place, you thread them both in, crank them down. And now with the magic of YouTube, there you go. They are on. That's as simple as it is. It's literally just 3 bolts. One on the bottom, 2 going into the light. Now, before you get these done, don't worry about aiming it up and down, side to side, like I said. Do that, go out in a field somewhere so you can really get the distance of these things and point them in the right direction that you want. But as for the actual install like this, that's it. And then if you look on these brackets as well, you have a little slit here. That is for when this wire is coming down, you can strap it down there just to give it a cleaner look. And we'll get to that point at the end. But now we're going to move on to actually wiring these things up. All right, now moving on to the wiring harness itself, you can see they give you plenty of length with this thing, so you don't have to worry about not being able to reach where you got to go. On this end, you have just your 2 connectors. Those just simple, plug into the other end of the light, make it snap, make sure the little clip snaps down there, and that's as easy as it gets. Literally plug it in, you're done. In the middle here, you have your relay, you have a positive negative cable, and then in here you got a little fuse. And it's as simple, if you're hooking it up this way, you literally just put this ground wire somewhere where it's going to be ground, positive to your positive terminal on the battery. And then if you come up here on this end, you would just have to run this switch into your truck somewhere. And it's simple as on, off. Just a little switch. But like I said, we're not going to be using this because I have the switch panel. So what I can do is I can actually cut these 2 wires right here. That's what we're going to do. And I can eliminate all this mess under the hood. So I have an install video on the aux beam. Pick one up, I recommend it. Just cleaner install. It's an easier install. And then just 1 wire into the truck. You can turn everything on and off through the switch panel. All right, so I got the ends snipped off and you can see we eliminated all that big mess here. All we're left with is this, and that's all you need is the little plug. And if you look in here, you can see you got 1 black, 1 white wire. Black is your negative, white is your positive if you're doing it this way. So if you come over here, you can see I got the driver's side plugged in already, and you want to make sure that the little clip hooks over the bump on the light, or the end that connects to the light, and make sure that hooks. This is what I mean on the passenger side. You can see the one that's hooked to the light has that little bump there. You want to make sure, because this is quite a tight fit to try to get this rubber washer in there. It is a tight fit when you're pushing it together. So as long as it snaps on the other side of this little clip, because if you ever need to take these off for some reason, this just lifts up and you can pop it back off. But you want to make sure it's at least past that or it will rattle itself apart eventually. All right, so I've got her all strapped up, ready to go. What I've done is I put 1 strap around the actual hinge itself, and then I kind of just tucked the connector over, and then I followed that big wiring harness all the way across, and that holds the connector here away from the hinge. So then when this closes, not only does that give it, you can see, it gives it the slack it needs to open and close, but you're not going to have the actual connection getting crushed underneath the hinge, because the hinge drops down and kind of parks itself right there. So then we've came all the way across, same idea with the passenger side, tucked underneath there, and then come together here. Now I only have to make it to this box. You can see this stuff is plenty long enough. It comes all the way out here. This one's a bit shorter because that's the driver's side, or the driver's side. And then you get this side, comes all the way out here still for the passenger side. So what I can do now is I'm gonna come down here. I'm gonna leave myself a little bit of slack because I'm gonna plug it into spot 1 right here. I did have my light bar in spot 1 before, but as you can see, this has 3 wires in it. What the light bar has, it has a backlight feature, kind of like Raptor lights. So spot 2, positive and negative, is the full-on light bar, and spot 3 is only a positive, that's the green wire, is the backlight now. I just moved it over. So I'm gonna put it in spot 1 and 2 for the ditch lights, and why that is because if you look here, it's got a 30 amp fuse, and if you open up the fuse on the wiring harness it came with, that's a 30 amp fuse. So that's what they're using, that's what I'm gonna use. So now what I'm gonna do is kind of cut these to length. I'm thinking maybe out here, give myself a little bit of extra in case anything ever goes wrong, or I might possibly wire this up differently at one time. So give yourself a little bit of extra. I'm thinking maybe up to about here. Cut it off, and then of course it's easy enough to hide the wiring and stuff underneath later on. All right, so I've got everything trimmed, ready to go, right to the right length. As you can see, when you cut these open, it is just 2 wires, like I said. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna wrap together black to black and white to white. Black negative, white positive. We're gonna come down, come up through the little space here. And then of course, this thing is all labeled positive, negative, everything is ready to go. So we're gonna plug the white into the positive, black into the negative, tighten it down, and that's as easy as it is to install this thing. Only thing I recommend, and now of course I got it looking like a hot mess, I recommend getting your 2 wires where they meet here, get some black tape, electrical tape, and just wind it up, make it look not only neater than it is like this, but it keeps it together, easier to fold around and just hide it away. Problem is, I can't find my electrical tape. All right, so as you can see, that's how neat it looks once it's together, and now all that's left to do is grab the lid for the box, clip it back on, and you never know anything's even there. We'll trim all the tails off of our zip ties for now, get them out of the way, close the hood, and you are done. All you got left to do is fire these babies up, aim them where you want them, and then you're ready to go on to the trails and have some fun. And one thing I recommend when cutting this up, keep all of the wire. You never know what's going to happen. You don't know if things are going to change. You could always switch these to a different vehicle. Maybe you need a little extra wire, or maybe you're hooking it up to something where you want the switch now. So what I also did is I cut enough past the connection here where if need be, you could always reattach it and turn it back into one if you want to do that. Or the other thing is, if something happens to the harness or whatever in any way, this is all the right wire. It obviously came with the kit. It's exactly the same wire. You're good to go. And of course, as you can see, you probably got like a good 8 feet plus left of this stuff once you unwind it. So like I said, if you're going to reuse it, might as well throw this in a shelf somewhere, tuck it away in the garage if you ever need it. Right there on hand. You don't have to worry about going and finding wire. And if anything happens and you need to fix something, it's right there ready to go. All right, guys, we got them on. You can see just how bright they are. I won't put it directly in there because it won't be able to see anything. As for the actual fitment, I just kept it aligned with the bracket. That puts it out pretty much where I want it. So I'm sure they looked into that when they built these things. But as you can see, I've got them pointed outwards. All I did was tilt them up slightly because it was hitting the hood too much to go and display the light out there. You can see I got it pointed, the bright spot about here and about there, and then it lights up everything. You can see the dump truck trailer there in the bushes where they're doing some work. This side's a little duller because the light's on, but you can see just how bright these little things are. And again, I'll pop in and turn on the big light bar, and then you can see why I pointed them out like I did. Now you can see with the 30-inch light bar in our front bumper there, plus these ditch lights, the light bar shoots out well past that garbage can, but that's all the space we have. And then now with the ditch lights, you can see the driving combo, you get the kind of thicker area of light, and then it also spreads the light outwards with all of them. So that's why you can see in the middle here, it's bright, and then kind of goes a little bit dull. And then same with those, you got your bright light in the middle, and then it dulls out to the outside. So this is just how bright it is when you got them all on. All right, sitting in the truck, we have our light bar. And then we have our new ditch lights. And then we have the combo of both. The light bar in the middle, I might point upwards just a little bit more. You'll get more distance and it'll shine higher. But as for now, this is your 2 ditch lights and a 30-inch light bar from Baja Designs. And if you want to see how well the little covers work, for like 10 bucks, you turn that on, you can see lights up, but you don't get even one speck of light popping through those things. So you won't be getting in trouble from anybody. For 10 bucks, if you need them, put them on. And then last but not least, once you get them all installed, you got them pointed where you want them, you're happy with everything, you grab your little rock guards. And now these don't clip on or anything like that. It's more of like a suction. If you listen closely, you can see it gets on there, suctions on, and they're on. You actually have to kind of work at it a bit to peel them back off. So they're not going to vibrate off. They're not going to blow off on the highway. They're on there nice. Yes, if someone wants to be a prick, they can come and just peel it off and steal them. But at least now that we got them on there, we don't have to worry about the police in our area coming and bugging us over something so simple as a light.